So Parker, why do you think small cells are a hot topic in the industry?
Yes, small cells really are a hot topic in the industry today because we're seeing unprecedented growth in traffic demand. Bell Labs at Alcatel Lucent is forecasting 25 times demand growth in the next 5 years, but that's really on average. We expect to see up to 80 times demand growth in urban centres, and that's a kind of demand that is really unprecedented in our industry over the last 20 years. So when you look at the options of how you add capacity to a network, there really are only three ways to do it. You can apply more spectrum, you can improve the spectral efficiency of the radio, or you can simply add more radios to the network and therefore densify it. Now there is more spectrum coming online, and spectral efficiency improvements are also in the pipeline, but those two parameters added together in aggregate really maybe will increase network capacity by 2 to 3 times in the next 5 years. So that's not nearly enough to cope with the demand that we're forecasting. To add that extra 20 times demand growth, what you really need to do is to densify the network, and we think densifying with small cells is the way forward.
So are small cells the only way to densify a network?
No, they're not. Networks have been densified through macro cell splitting, which is where you simply add more macro cells to the network, and that has been possible and has been done regularly over the last 10 years. But the problem is twofold. It's very expensive. Macro cells are just simply too expensive to replicate multiple times across an urban environment, for example. But also site permissioning, getting site access for these large and frankly unattractive radios in urban centres is increasingly challenging and sometimes completely impossible in the locations that radios are required.
So are these solutions available to address the public service demand?
They certainly are, and Alcatel Lucent is the #1 supplier globally in small cells, so we're pretty excited about that. This year in Barcelona we demonstrated the first 4G HetNet using our small cells, and that very same radio is deploying in scale in Tier 1 operators in North America right now. And later this year and next year, when 4G networks start deploying across Europe, we expect to see our 4G metro being put into the field across both Europe and the Middle East. However, right now, today, where there's really urgent demand for more capacity is in 3G networks, and we're releasing our very small form factor 3G small cell in the next couple of months, and we're adding Wi-Fi to that as well, and we really expect to see 3G metro uptake ramping in this period, because once again it's really the only way to add capacity to 3G networks that is both cost efficient and also future looking.
And what are the challenges of network densification?
There are significant new challenges to using metro cells, and what we've really discovered through experience of deploying these cells in the field is that the vast majority of these challenges are beyond the radio themselves. We've coined the phrase that 80% of the cost and the complexity of metro cells are beyond the radio, and that really seems to be proving out. For example, backhaul. How do you supply backhaul to thousands of new cell sites? Power management. What are the right power management solutions to use in the field? How do you select, commission and integrate new sites into your network? How do we manage new stakeholder challenges like municipalities, public interest groups who are concerned potentially about these new radio devices going into their neighborhood? These are all new challenges that operators haven't had to face so far in the macro cell environment, and that they're trying to get their head around today.
Do you think operators are actually ready to make this change?
Operators are certainly ready to make that change, and we're beginning to see significant push from the CTO down to add capacity through small cells and networks in the European and Middle East region. However, it's really requiring them to rethink the orthodoxy of network and radio planning design. For example, in a macro cell network, it's really the requirements of the radio that come first. In small cell environments, radio and radio frequency planning is actually the simple part of deployment because RF in itself is fairly inexpensive and it's designed to be overlapping with adjacent cells. The challenges are where to put these cells, how to backhaul them, how to acquire the sites efficiently. And this is requiring operators to deal with a far wider scope of complexity than they're used to in the past. And for exactly that reason, Alcatel Lucent has launched a new managed service to help operators quickly get metro cell networks to scale quickly and simply, and we called that service MetroCell Express. It was only launched just before the summer this year. We've already got a major tier 1 customer whose name I can't mention right now, but we'll be seeing the first MetroCell Express deployment coming out in the next few months. We think it's a really exciting change in the industry.
So what do small cells actually mean for customers?
Well, customers are going to start seeing significant changes both to their environment and also to the quality of their mobile services in the next few years. The first thing they'll start noticing is small cells entering their neighbourhoods, their corporate campuses and dense urban centres, on lampposts, sides of buildings, traffic lights, all over the place. And to make sure that consumers are comfortable with these changes, Alcatel Lucent has been working with Frog Design, which is the iconic industrial design company behind, for example, many of Apple's key products, to make sure that our radios are aesthetically pleasing and blend into the landscape. After the radios are in place, consumers will really start seeing a difference to their services. Suddenly, high-definition video calling will be possible from the street. In dense environments like stadiums or busy shopping streets, airports and malls, you'll be able to enjoy the same kind of capacity that you do in a corporate LAN environment, for example, once LTE is up and running over these small cells. Customers will be able to do cloud-based gaming, download music quickly, and will generally see a much greater level of ubiquity of high-speed wireless capacity wherever they go.
Brilliant, thank you very much.